So, my casual dude, here we are again. I'm getting kind of sick of staring into your eyes at this point.
Yeah, you're looking at me and just going like, this damn idiot keeps coming to my house.
No, it's the hunker. You can't forget.
Oh yeah, from our previous filming.
Yeah, you're our fanboy.
Yeah. But anyway, hi guys. Guys, we are Cinema Suitcase, and today, in honor of the new Candyman reboot/sequel coming out, we thought we'd give the man his due and do the original Candyman from 1992,
which I think, as you said, we're gonna honor that movie, which I think is a lot better than what we did with Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
was it worth honoring that movie?
Yeah. Because our Suicide Squad episode will probably be out before this, so everyone will know how much we butchered that movie. Yeah, we won't butcher this movie too much.
No, this was actually a nice film. I enjoyed it. I mean, I saw it.
Yeah.
Like, you want to do your stats first?
Yeah. Let's just do let's just do our stats.
No problem. I don't want to butcher the format.
And then, yes, but yeah. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for watching, or if you're listening on one of our podcast platforms, we really appreciate it. And then also just so you know, spoiler warning, just for if you haven't seen the original Candyman, go watch it and then come back here because we will be discussing some spoilers.
Of course.
For the story, just so you guys aren't triggered. So this movie was directed by Bernard Rose, and the story was written by both him and Clive Barker.
Rose, like R-O-S-E.
Yeah, Rose.
Sure.
Yeah, Bernard Rose and Clive Barker, because I think it was based on a book that Clive Barker wrote. Sure. Original music. The music's pretty good in this one.
Yes, it is. Even I acknowledged that in the opening scene.
Yeah, it's done by Philip Glass. That's like the musical composer.
Sure.
Cinematography by Anthony B. Richmond. Cinematography's not too bad. And film editing by Dan Ray.
That I did see last night when I was reading the credits. Oh, Dan Ray.
So yeah, let's discuss.
I'll go first with initial.
Initial. Yeah, because I have seen this movie once before, and obviously the second time now with him. But this is his first viewing. So
this was my first ever introduction into the Candyman universe. I didn't even know it was a thing.
So what was your initial reaction?
It was a wonderful movie. To me, as I said just before we started, he was the slasher that came late to the party because he 92 this came out.
92, yeah.
And of course the major slashers were already established. Leatherface, Jason,
Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, there we go. All of them are 80s characters. So to me, he's a little bit late, but he's also a little bit different as a slasher, and that's what intrigued me about him.
That's actually why, the reason why I wanted to do this episode, well, not only because, there's a new Candyman reboot coming out, but actually because when I watched this movie, I actually was like, this is actually quite a different horror slasher movie.
It is,
and that's why I thought it'd be an interesting episode for us to actually discuss.
I agree.
Because it's not like your usual... there's a bunch of horny teenagers and then the slasher just goes around and slowly picks them off one by one. This movie was very, very, very different.
It's completely different formula to the usual slashers. So they're just like, hey, you girl, and then the serial killer rocks up. So initially, as I said, this was like my first ever exposure to this franchise, it's soon to be. I've never heard of him beforehand. You sat me down, you literally grabbed my collar and you were like, hey fool, we have to watch this for the Candyman movie coming out. So I was like, okay. And we sat down and I really enjoyed it. Just as you argued, so I'm gonna copy your argument. It's a completely different approach to a slasher. And I know he's not as mainstream and as big as the others, but I think he's still actually quite a cool villain.
He is quite a cool villain.
Actually interesting that he's like from the hood and not like some
that's
dusty farm.
That's what I kind of like. It's a very different setting for a horror movie because a lot of these horror movies are usually set like in camps or like in forests or I know like the Nightmare on Elm Street series is sort of set in the like sort of like the picturesque, like perfect, like the picket fence neighborhood with all the parents and like the idyllic type of family setting. But this one they were like, no, we're going to go to like a actually more like, you know, well, not poor section, but a more like, you know,
Rundown.
a more rundown, less fortunate type of section of the city, and we're going to make it more like an urban type of horror.
Which actually added fuel to the whole urban legend thing.
Yeah, the urban legends. Yeah,
like people universally in that area, people that stay there, they all seem to agree he exists.
Yeah,
despite having no real
but they're trying to
interaction.
They're trying to avoid it. They don't like to talk about Candyman, everything. But so my history with this movie, to let you guys know. I never watched this movie when I was growing up as a kid, but I remember my mom used to tell me stories about Candyman because she watched Candyman when she was younger, obviously when this movie came out.
Did you meet him?
No, I didn't meet the actual Candyman. If I met Tony Todd, that'd be freaking cool, but no. She watched the original Candyman movie when it came out, and it freaked her out. It's like one of the horror movies that she's actually really freaked her out when she was younger, and it's one of the horror movies she actually doesn't really want to rewatch ever. Like, I don't know, she found Candyman very scary, so I thought, okay, one day I'll watch this movie. And then the other, I think it was earlier this year or last year, I thought, okay, you know what, I want to actually give Candyman a watch. So I watched the movie, and I actually really enjoyed it, and I was very impressed by it, because like we said earlier, it's very different to your usual slasher horror movie type thing. And the approach that they took, how they approached it was just completely different.
Totally different. Like he wasn't almost entirely a myth. He seemed to almost be like a community member. That's how popular he was.
He was in the neighborhood.
He was like that crazy old uncle that no one talks about.
The opposite of a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah. Your unfriendly neighborhood Candyman.
Candyman, yeah.
That's like just initial impressions, it was brilliant. All around for me.
It was really.
I know we're gonna go a bit more in depth afterwards, but as it's just brilliant start.
Yeah,
it got off to a great start, but the new reboot trailer is concerning for me. But I'll get there when we discuss it.
We'll discuss that towards the end. But anyway, so the story, we follow a post-grad student, or I think she's a post-grad student because she's already graduated, but she's still writing papers at the university. And she basically, I can't remember her name now, so we'll put a little correction of her character name text in the video. But she basically she's writing, her and her friend are writing a paper on Candyman and sort of the myth about it and everything, and they sort of want to go investigate. But she doesn't really want to do the same boring, just regurgitate everything that everybody already knows type of paper. She really wants to sort of go into the trenches and sort of really find out who Candyman is and everything like that.
And like the story behind him.
Yeah.
If he's real.
Yeah, and then they go investigate. And it's pretty cool setup. She has a husband who is who's a professor there at the university or college or wherever they teach at, and he's clearly in love with himself, and one of his students is a bit too. She stays for extra classes.
Oh yeah, no.
She needs special attention to pass the class.
Do anything for an A.
I'll do anything for an A.
Yeah.
Basically, it's that stereotypical teacher classmate thing gone wrong, student gone wrong. But yeah, so and then the myth around Candyman takes place in this neighborhood called Cabrini Green, which I actually quite like as a setting. I think it's quite a cool setting.
I quite like the name
because it's like this apartment complex. It's like this rundown apartment section of the city. The people that live there, I mean, obviously there was like some, there's obviously like gangs and stuff there, but there's also like just people that, obviously have nowhere else to go, and they're just trying to get by. Like the one woman that we meet later that has her baby child, and she's just trying to raise her. She just wants to raise her son and everything.
Have a normal life. Yeah, that's the thing. Like in real life as well, if there's a sort of rundown area and there's known gangsterism in that area, people think everyone's just a hoodlum. In the meantime, there are people there that are just trying to live their life normally as best as they can.
Yeah.
And that stereotype is it's given more truth in this movie because there are normal people.
Yeah, and so for as a run by the plot, I don't think we'll run by the plot step by step too much. Not because the plot's bad. The plot's very good.
It is very good.
It's just that basically because the first I think 40 minutes of the movie is just her basically going to Cabrini Green, talking to the residents there, actually learning about Candyman and everything.
It has proper world building, just like the 80s and 90s movies do. They take a long time for their character and world to build before anything happens. We talked about this in Alien.
Yeah, and what I also quite like about this movie is that she sort of starts investigating. She meets a little kid.
His name is Jake.
Yeah, Jake. Yeah, I think that's his name. She meets Jake, and then Jake is like, I don't know. He's like very. That kid made me laugh. Like just his eyes and everything. Like, yeah, he's just like he's seen stuff.
He's seen a lot.
Yeah, and then she eventually the catalyst of the movie really comes where he leads her to this this public communal bathroom that's like. Not even in the main building. It's just out there, like in the park. In the park, it's like a little like hut.
It's like a public bathroom almost.
Public bathroom, basically. And he tells her the story about this kid that he was with his mom and she was shopping, and then he was annoying her, so he just said whatever, just go to the bathroom. And then he went to the bathroom, and then he was murdered by Candyman, and quite in a gruesome way. We see bits of what happened, and it was very gruesome.
Yeah, it actually caught me off guard because in the sequentially in the film, that's the first
real death that you see.
Yeah, it's like the first sort of any sort of someone who's had contact with Candyman. That's the first time. Other than that, he's just like a rumor.
Yeah.
So when you see it, you're like, whoa, this guy.
Because it sort of opens up with this. Because when they open this, the very first scene when they first tell the story of Candyman. It's sort of like it's the typical slasher movie setting where there's a teenage girl, she's looking after some little kid, the little kid goes to sleep, she brings her boyfriend, or not even her boyfriend, like some guy that she likes over, then they, get again ready to get business, and then she tells him to go sit downstairs because she has a surprise for him, and then all we know is that Candyman basically came and then killed her, because basically what happens with the Candyman, the myth is that you look in the mirror and you say Candyman's name 5 times and then he appears. And then but I kind of like that because I kind of like that it starts with the typical slasher movie setting, like the typical setting you're used to seeing, and then it goes completely different.
It really changes trajectory entirely. It starts off like an 80s slasher.
They sort of subvert. Well, okay, I know a lot of filmmakers use this word and they use it. It's kind of pretentious now.
Subvert expectations.
But back then when they were actually doing it properly, it was like they actually subvert your expectations. At first you think, oh, okay, cool. I've seen this a million times. Traditional slasher, I know what I'm in for. But then they completely do a 180 and then like they give you a completely different type of experience.
Maybe they designed Candyman around that concept. They were like, maybe they had a first draft and they were like, okay, this is like everything else that came 8 to 10 years before our movie. How can we make it different? So they sort of grab your attention, like, okay, what's gonna happen. These guys get wrecked because they're stupid, and then suddenly it goes and it changes completely.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're like, whoa, this isn't like a normal slasher that I've seen 100 times. Yeah. Let's continue.
So she goes into the bathroom obviously to investigate, and like the bathroom is it's a typical boys' bathroom. Yeah. It's not very pleasing to the eye. And then she meets, and then she obviously gets cornered by these gang men, and there's like some idiot gangster guy who obviously has a fake like hook that he holds between his hands, and he's like, I am Candyman, but meanwhile he's not, and then
he's just some
he attacks her. And I kind of like how they subvert that expectation. They sort of make you think that, oh wait, is it really him? Is this really? Well, okay, you kind of know that it's not really Candyman. You're like, okay, who the hell's this guy? But I do kind of like that they sort of like they trick the main character into thinking that, because after that she just thinks that, oh no, Candyman's not real. It's just some gangster that was that was using the myth as a way to sort of like scare the locals, basically.
Pretty much, exactly, which is also cool. He had like that meat hook.
Yeah, he had that like meat hook.
And he was just he was rude. I mean, he punched her for no reason.
Well, because I don't know, she was looking into his business and he didn't want that. So
maybe he lost his mind and he became. Candyman, he believed he was.
And I guess there's also that one scene that kind of bugs me where I understand it's police procedure. They have to because they do that suspect
police lineup.
The suspect lineup where they have all the people. Then the line is basically like what was the line again? It was something like, you're looking for Candyman, and obviously the B word. And then the thing is, they have to go through all these people before they eventually get to the actual guy. And I'm kind of just like, I kind of feel like she would just see him straight away and say, yeah, that's the guy.
Oh.
And it's just like, no, we have to do this police stuff, but that's the guy. No, you have to hear her line. Like, it's almost like it's this procedure. Like, the detective's just like, look, I know you know that it's him, and we know that it's him, but we have to do this. It's a procedure.
I think it's to get the audience involved, because you'll actively take on her role. Was her name Cindy?
I think it was Cindy.
I think so. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, her name was Cindy if it wasn't, but I think it was Cindy. Maybe just Google while I talk.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say was maybe it just gets you involved as the audience member, because we clearly know who the suspect was.
Yeah, we know who the suspect was.
And as we go through it and they say the line, you'll be interacting or talking to yourself. You'll be like, no, that's clearly not him. You go to the next one and you're like, okay, no, that's not him either. Because you actively know who you're looking for. So maybe it's just a way to make the scene more interesting.
I think how maybe they should have done that scene a bit differently. Oh no, her name is Helen. Helen.
Okay, I don't know where Cindy came from. It's probably a Friday the 13th character. It sounds like a horny teenager.
Yeah. But yeah. I think maybe how it would have been a bit more interesting is if maybe like where they don't actually show who this gangster guy is, and then or maybe like he hits her from the back and then she doesn't know who it is, but she hears him say
the voice line.
Say the voice line, and then the thing is when the lineup comes up and then she hears him say it, she's like, no, that's him. That would have been a bit better.
That's a fair argument. I can get behind that.
Yeah, that would have been maybe a bit better, but anyway, then we're pretty much up to assume that that was Candyman, and that's basically it. So then she goes to the parking lot, and then we get obviously the real Candyman show.
Oh yes,
that first scene where his introduction is just awesome.
Dude, his voice in that scene.
Yeah, Tony Todd, who plays Candyman, his voice is like so amazing. Like, it sounds demonic, but it also sounds really cool at the same time.
Yeah, and like human, like a weird hybrid. It's
like
really
this weird hybrid. He's got this really cool like sounding voice, and he's like Helen.
And you can tell that it was recorded in like a studio or something, because that audio comes out in stereo, while her audio it's also stereo. But
obviously they had to manipulate it to make his voice sound demonic, but his voice is still cool nonetheless.
It is just it was cool. I loved it.
Yeah, I loved his line in this movie, and also just a interesting design for a slasher. Because you don't expect stuff. Because the thing is with Candyman is that obviously when he opens up his chest, you see what his chest looks like, and then it's a bit more grotesque. But when you just sort of see him from the side, like he sort of looks. He's very well dressed. He's a very well dressed.
Yeah, he's a normal dude.
He's dressed formally, and then the only thing that's really disfigured about him is his hook. Obviously, they're on his stump of his arm. And then of his hand, and then obviously when he opens up his thing, you see sort of like the carcass and like the bees and everything, because he was eating.
Interesting design choice.
Yeah, it is an interesting design.
It's very unusual. I mean, what are the bees? They were like part of his origin story and his death. But it's still, if you just think about it, like if you look at that image and you think that's a slasher, you're like, whoa, that's kind of an interesting and yet obscure design.
Yeah.
Because instead of just having something like gory or grotesque about him, like he has like a third eye or something, he's just a normal dude, and instead they integrated some real living creatures in him, which is cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It sort of goes back to our Alien episode when you were talking about the xenomorphs and the design of the xenomorphs and everything.
The perfect killing machine.
Yes, basically, and it's quite a unique design.
Take on it.
Yeah. And then basically from the plot there, he basically he kidnaps the kid. He murders the dog. He chops the dog's heads off. The lady, sorry, getting ahead of himself. The lady that we saw earlier, who's trying to just raise her kid, she has that dog. She has that guard. That sort of chopped. That little guard dog, obviously to protect her. And then the head's been cut off. It's pretty gore. It's pretty violent.
It's quite gruesome. Yeah.
They use a lot of gruesome imagery in this movie, but then he frames Helen and makes think that Helen's the killer or whatever. Which
I think she kind of framed herself as well. In a
how would you say?
I know it was self-defense when that lady thought she killed. She
when the cops burst in.
She knew that Candyman did it, but he was only like in her life because of Helen trying to find out who he is.
Yeah.
So she paid the price, and
it was kind of dumb because like the thing is like she's telling the woman to like calm down, but at the same time she's like holding the axe like calm down.
She's like calm yourself.
Yeah.
Like if you disarmed her, just chuck it aside or something.
Yeah, just chuck the axe aside.
Instead, and she was like on top of the other woman.
Yeah, she
with the meat cleaver.
Okay, yeah, I get you. She did sort of set herself up.
She set herself up a bit. Like, okay, maybe keep the weapon on standby. You know, you can just grab it, but don't like actively look like you're threatening her because then as soon as the cops walked in, how are you going to argue that? Yeah. You're going to say, "Oh no, the tooth fairy did it." No one's going to believe you, and that's why she went to a loony bin.
Yeah, basically. And then basically that's pretty cool. I think that's the one thing I don't like. I don't know. It's kind of a personal gripe that I have with movies, but with books and everything. I don't like stories where characters are framed for like a crime that they didn't commit. Because I don't know. To me, I don't know. I mean, it's just a thing for me. Because for me, it's always just really annoying when I see that. Because I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I know she didn't do it. Clearly, somebody else did it, and she's been set up, and nobody believes her for the next 40% of the movie, and then only like at the end does people believe her. So can we just skip to that part, please? But yeah, I don't know. Like it works a bit better in this movie. I think it works pretty cool because it's sort of a bit more psychological. Like he's really like Candyman's making it look like she's crazy, and he's sort of like playing mind games with her. I do quite like that aspect, but in other movies, I don't really like it. Like in those spy espionage films where the main character gets framed, and then like, oh gosh, that's the whole thing of proving innocence. Yeah, it's something I find a bit annoying. But I think like I said, it works because he's playing mind games with her.
One kind of flaw I have is she is a descendant of the...
It's hinted at later that she's a descendant.
She's a descendant of the lady that
the woman that he originally
had like an affair with, or fell in love with, rather, not an affair.
In the 1800s.
In the 1800s, yeah. So then, I don't know if this has ever worked for you, but I've never liked a honey and then played mind games and actually got anywhere. I don't know what his end game was, because he was just being a huge troll, basically.
Well, he wanted her to come with him into the afterlife or something. That's pretty much what he wanted.
I know, that was his end goal, but his approach was kind of off, because he was just being a huge dick.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe he's trying to separate her from the rest.
Maybe
he's trying to destroy her life, and then so that you will want to come into the afterlife. But it's kind of just like, dude, you're not exactly winning her over.
That's what I'm saying.
Your flirting skills are terrible.
They're awful.
Yeah. You have a great voice, but you need to work on your methods a bit.
Yeah, dude. I still like the movie. It's just, to me, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Your argument could stand, though, that he's trying to just destroy her current life so that she will eventually just sort of give in, sort of like blackmail.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing I could picture working out.
Yeah. And then, do you want to maybe talk a little bit about the husband character? About that whole plot line, about him cheating on her? Like, obviously, it's pretty obvious that he's cheating on her, but she doesn't want to believe it.
Yeah, it's really, really obvious.
Yeah, it's kind of obvious. And then it's only like when she comes in the apartment later, and like the girlfriend is busy like, repainting the walls pink and everything.
Oh.
That's the thing. Oh yeah, that was a very funny thing when like, she takes the phone and like passes it to the girlfriend and says, "Yeah, call the police." And the girl's just like,
oh, she's completely freaking out that whole scene. And I'm like, woman, calm yourself. It was funny, dude. I think as you say, it was obvious because from the very first scene when Helen walks into that class of his, and then the class is like dismissed, and
there's that one
girl that's like lingering, she's like all around him.
And then when she's like walking away, she even like looks back before walking out the class. Yeah, kind of the kiss ass of the class, the one who's trying to get the best marks and everything, the one who's trying to be best at everything, get all the awards. Yeah,
I get you. No, she was hands down that character, and I don't know. I didn't. What did he see in her? She was kind of dumb.
I don't know.
I know what he saw in her, but I tell you what, it wasn't her personality.
Yeah.
So I think it was an interesting element. I suppose.
I guess, yeah. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say. I suppose. I suppose that like they set him up as a cheating sort of secondary villain because he didn't really help her. He wasn't a villain per se, but he definitely didn't help in her situation.
Yeah.
And when she finally became Candywoman, then she needed someone to whack, so they set him up to get whacked.
I guess I do. I guess the one thing I do like about that whole subplot, the B movie plot or B plot or whatever, is that I do like the fact that at the end of the thing when he's in the bathroom, he actually does regret everything that he's done to her.
Yeah, he really does.
He actually does miss her, and he actually realizes what he's done. But obviously, it's too late then, my man. You're gonna get axed.
Mm-hmm.
And then she shows up and basically ends him. But yeah,
Mortal Kombat style.
Are they gonna reference that there's now a Candy Woman in the new Candyman movie?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering now. Is it just going to be Candyman?
Because you said it was a continuation of sorts.
I don't know. It seems to me like it's going to be... I don't know. I mean, I haven't read anything... I've just watched the trailer. I haven't read anything official of it. But I'm assuming... I mean, because most... like reboots / sequels these days, it's never really like a true reboot anymore. Usually it's like, okay...
They acknowledge the past.
They acknowledge the first film and then that's it. Like kind of like the new Halloween movies. Like they acknowledge the first Halloween, the original Halloween, but they ignore the sequels before it. So yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I mean that trailer didn't reveal much, obviously. So it could still be Helen, Candywoman, or it could just be a solid reboot. Yeah, and it's just Candyman.
But yeah, I don't really have too much to say. I mean, there's not really like too many moments in the story. I think just as an experience, especially if you're a horror fan, it's just an interesting film to watch.
It's very different.
Because it's so different to the horror movies, especially the ones coming out back then. It was just so different. And I do like Tony, and I love Tony Todd as Candyman. He's just awesome.
He's a brilliant actor. I don't know much about him, I'll be honest, but I think he's cool.
And I do like some of the lines he says, like "Be my victim," and like Helen.
Like, he says that.
Cool. I do like some of that. Yeah.
I was gonna say they didn't blur the lines, but they made an interesting story between an outright slasher movie and a sort of investigative thriller. Yeah. Which was very cool to see.
It was like a cool hybrid of the two.
Because he is obviously a cruel dude. Yeah. So, but the fact that he wasn't running around and just, reducing the population, instead he had a bit of reasoning. Was quite interesting.
Yeah, he doesn't kill too many people. He only kills a few people in this movie.
Why did he whack that kid, though? Because
we're kind of wondering why he whacked that. Because we were actually thinking about that. Because he kidnaps the baby and he uses that on leverage on Helen. Because Helen obviously wants to find this baby and save him. But like he doesn't harm the baby, and we even see some scenes where he's with the baby, where it's just him and the baby, and he's like being gentle with the baby. He's not trying to scare it or hurt it or anything. But then he hurts the kid. It's kind of like, we actually made this like little joke that like, Candyman, his morality is basically just like, if the kid can't walk yet, I won't touch it. But as soon as that kid learns how to walk, he's on my hit list. I'm like, I got my eyes on him.
Yeah, that's, I don't know, I can't explain that. Other than the fact, maybe they tried to...
maybe it wasn't... But the problem is it could have been that gangster guy that killed the kid. Because the problem is, there's no way that... Yeah, because it had to have been the actual Candyman who did it.
I think it was like a bit of a shock moment, because we didn't know Candyman back then in that part during the film.
Because we haven't met the real Candyman.
Yeah, we hadn't seen him or heard him or anything, so he was still kind of a myth to us as he was to everyone else.
So I think it was more just to build the myth and build the horror story.
Exactly, to make him more so you fear him.
Yeah.
And you get scared of him. I think that was the point of it. But in terms of reasoning, I don't think he really had any.
Yeah.
maybe that kid like stole his gummy bears, and then he was like, "Oh hell no!"
Or maybe I don't know. He just called Candyman, and the kids.
Or maybe he did actually call him.
He probably called him, and then Candyman's just like, "Okay, I'm just gonna. You're clearly, dumb. So
I get paid by the hour, whatever.
like, I haven't killed anyone in like 20 years. Fine, this kid will have to do."
Yeah, and in the meantime, he was just in his apartment, that rundown building, watching TV.
Alright, so yeah, then in terms of like maybe some positives that we can mention, I think I do like I do like the production design. Production design's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like some of the shots, like we'll show a screenshot in the video version, but there's that one shot where she climbs through the window, through like that window hole, and then she like comes out, and then on the other side there's this large painting of Candyman's face, and his mouth is open, and then the hole that she climbs out is the mouth of Candyman, because the thing is, Candyman is the thing where the bees come out of his mouth.
Exactly. But it's actually clever. I didn't think about that. Like, you sort of entered his lair.
Yeah.
In a weird way. I'm not sure if that can be concluded like that.
That's the one shot really that like kind of stood out to me. And I also kind of like the aerial shots in the beginning when the car's driving.
They actually quite long, like uncut a
shot.
couple, like a minute or two of just a constant freeway. It's really
and they
cool.
play that like ominous music, and I kind of like it because it kind of sets the tone. This is a more urban horror movie, like an urban myth.
It does. It adds like a really dark cloud. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I think if I speak about positives as well, I just want to add that camera shot you spoke about of Helen coming through that hole and then it was actually his mouth on the painting. I think that is probably my favorite shot. It was the one that definitely stood out the most for me.
I think also because it's the most visually appealing.
It is.
It's the most visually appealing shot.
Like, the rest aren't bad. There's nothing bad about any of them, but they're sort of like a standard.
They're standard shots.
They're not anything that really grips you, like, oh wow, that's actually cool. It's just sort of storytelling standard elements. Not to bash it, it's just
we're not trying to bash it. It's just
critiquing
a little bit.
But definitely that shot really stood out. Those two, the opening sequence of the freeway pan, because I wonder how they did that for back in that day.
I mean, they must have done it they must have done it on a helicopter.
It must have been a helicopter because
obviously back then they didn't have like drones that they could use now. Because now they have like those little drones that they can use.
Because that footage was stable.
So it was very stable.
Very stable. So I was just looking at it, it's like, that's really cool. And then of course the mouth in the hole in the wall mouth shot. Those are my two favorite shots.
But I think the best takeaway to take from it is that this movie, it has the plot is very simple. It has a very simple, straightforward plot. But I think what I liked about it is just how they approached it. That kind of makes this film stand out from
the urban setting.
The rest of it.
Really switched up the formula. The urban setting, which is great. That I would say is definitely one of my positive points, as well as a takeaway. Is just the setting. They had a clear concept in mind, and then they probably looked at the previous like champions. The slasher champions, Jason and all that, like 5, 6, 7 years beforehand, and they were like, how can we make this compete with those guys, or at least be something different? Yeah. And so they were like, let's make an urban setting, and that was I think the best way to do it. Yeah.
And there's not really much else to say. Like, it's a pretty good movie.
It's just a great movie all around.
It's just a fun little like horror / thriller type movie to watch and everything. And
I think it's cool.
I guess that pretty much. I mean, that pretty much would be just my takeaway. I guess would just be like, if you have a story that feels like it's if you have a simple story, or you have a story that like is kind of like everything that you've seen before. It's good to like sort of like sit back and actually like sort of think out the box and sort of think, okay, how can we make this different?
That would be the main takeaway for me as well, because everything about this film is it comes full circle. Yeah, and it's very compact and simple. There aren't many characters. There isn't a ton of backstory and lore, and
except other than Candyman's origin.
Yeah, which has a scene to itself, or at least like a story dedicated to it. But that's fine. That's all you need to know. You don't have to know about all this other junk. Yeah, it's just very concise and to the point, and it's well thought out.
No, it's a very well thought out horror movie. So I guess, would you want to do ratings first, then talk about the new one, or do you want to talk about the new one first?
No, I think we should do the new one afterwards. But I think a takeaway quickly, just to add, is don't be afraid of simplicity.
Yeah, simplicity.
Simplicity. There's nothing wrong if everything is solid to you, but you feel like it's too simple. I don't think you should worry about that too much. Rather have it just enough.
Yeah, because you're gonna have the people that are gonna complain that it's too simple, but like at the end of the day, sometimes that's just what works.
Exactly, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.
Yes,
and you don't need to have all this convoluted layers. If you have a concise, solid story, leave it. Don't tinker. Yeah. That would be my takeaway.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I like Candyman's design.
Yeah, his design is very good.
He's something very different. Some sort of strange merge between human and something that's not human.
Like a creature, yeah.
And yet he's still, unlike a lot of slashers, retains his human element.
Yeah.
Like you can sit down and talk to the guy if he was ever so willing.
Yeah.
He's not just out to kill, you know. That's something interesting. He has a bit more higher thinking than a normal slasher.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
That
makes him unique.
Yeah, it does make him unique. So yeah, then I guess for my rating, I'd probably go with an 8 out of 10. So pretty solid movie. Yeah.
Solid, hands down.
Solid movie, so solid score, 8 out of 10.
Why not a 10? Can I ask, do you have something that specifically deducts?
I mean, the thing is...
Or is it just like...
I think it's more just a sense of like, you know, it's an effective horror movie, like we said, and it's a very effective movie. It does everything that it sets out to do properly. But I mean, obviously, you know, it's not my favorite horror movie. I mean, obviously, a movie like The Shining or like the original Halloween is obviously going to top this movie in a way. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a pretty good score. Because the thing is also, it's not just because when I score movies, it's not just about like, you know, okay, how many cons are there versus pros. A lot of the time, it's more. I have to also sort of bring in my own enjoyment into the
exactly
score. Like how much enjoyment did I have in the movie, and then. If I had to like sort of round my score out, I'd say like, it's an 8 out of 10. It's a solid recommend for me.
It's very definitely recommend.
And I'd say that, you know, if you're interested in watching the new Candyman movie that came out, I'd say definitely give this one a watch first.
Because I think definitely this one.
Yeah, definitely watch this one. I mean, obviously we haven't seen the new one yet. We don't know if it's good or not, but I'd say definitely give this first one a watch and
if nothing else.
Yeah, and if you are interested in it, then maybe go check out the new reboot / sequel.
Sure, I had an extra point now. Sure, and it's gone. Of course it's gone.
Of course it's gone. It's always gone.
What were we talking about earlier? Like the point just beforehand? And maybe you can jolt my memory.
There was a concise story with some point.
Oh, yes. What I wanted to say is my overall rating would be a 9 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Hands down, it's brilliant. I really love it.
So the first time you've actually rated higher than me.
Yeah.
Because you either rate lower than me or we have the same rating.
Yeah. So now I'm higher than you. Okay, that's interesting. And the reason it's not a solid 10 out of 10 for me is purely because they sort of missed the boat a bit in the slasher genre.
Yeah.
You don't get modern slashers compared to the OGs back in the day, and he missed that ship a little bit by coming out in 1992 compared to like the early and mid 80s when the slashers were booming.
Yeah.
That's why I would deduct. But other than that, brilliant. Loved it.
Yeah.
I think it's very cool. The only thing I would make it, like I could complain and make it an 8 because his apartment is dirty, but that's not a fair argument.
That's not a fair argument at all.
No, so 9 out of 10 from me, hands down. And would you like to move on to the trailer for the
Yeah, we can move on and sort of talk about the trailer. So,
sure, what is your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts
have you seen that trailer first? Like before I did? Or did you watch it at the same time?
Yeah, I did. I watched the original movie, then I watched the trailer. And then when we were talking about doing this podcast, I was like, I definitely would like to do Candyman at some point. I think it's a movie Kevin might like. And then when I saw the release date for the new movie, I was like, oh, okay, this could be a cool tie-in actually.
Yeah.
So we could do this movie. But in terms of the trailer, it looks interesting. It looks like they kind of want to sort of go, because I haven't seen, because there were 2 sequels to this original Candyman movie, back in the 90s.
Are they just aptly named 2 and 3?
I mean, it's Candyman. They've got intricate names, but I can't really remember them. But I haven't seen them. From what I've heard, they're not very good. Because I think the third one was direct to DVD and didn't go to cinema.
Oh,
yeah, that's never a good sign.
That reminds me of a film we could actually do. Maybe someone could tell us in the comments. Lake Placid.
Oh, Lake Placid.
That's a good movie.
Yeah,
the first one, the second one, after that, but the first one is ingenious. So if anyone wants to see a Lake Placid episode, just let us know below.
But I think what's interesting, because I do really like the actor who's the main star of that movie. He's a really good actor. He played Black Manta in the new Aquaman movie, and he was also okay, I won't spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but he played a very pivotal role in the new Watchmen HBO series, which is very good. What I like about it is that they're sort of going back to basics of the first one, where it's sort of like a mystery, like learning the myth about Candyman and everything. Mm-hmm. But they're also it feels like Candyman's sort of gonna be playing mind games with them, like kind of like make him think like he's actually Candyman, and he doesn't know that he's actually Candyman or something like that. So I think that aspect of it looks interesting. It's a bit different to how he sort of messed around with Helen in this original movie. Mm-hmm. But yeah, other than that, I don't really have much to say. I mean, I'm interested to watch it. But I think it looks good. But we'll have to see, because I don't know, a lot of these modern movies are not very good. Because like Halloween 2018, I hated that movie. I could not stand that movie. So, well, let's just hope. I'm just praying. I'm just going like, please just be better than Halloween 2018. Just do it properly. That's all I go into these modern reboots sequels. I'm just like crossing my fingers. Please just don't screw it up. So yeah, I don't know. What's your takeaway from the trailer?
On the trailer, okay, I don't like to compare too much. I like to give it a chance as an individual standalone film. So I think what I'm concerned about is they've gone back to this original formula of Candyman being a bit of a myth, it seems. Because they try out that.
Well, obviously, because it's been like a 30-year gap now.
Okay, and they're sort of like teenagers, and that's the concerning part. There's an army of them. There's like 5, and you can.
Oh yeah, that scene with the girl with the 5 girls in the bathroom. They're all saying, Candyman, Candyman.
So you can bet now they've all called him away from his stories. Now he's extra salty. He's gonna wipe each of them out one by one. They're gonna be shallow and generic, and it's gonna become a real bad horror movie. That's my concern.
Yeah, I know you haven't seen the Halloween 2018 movie, but that was actually my main concern with it, was that instead of it, because they brought back original characters from the original Halloween, but instead of making just the whole movie just about them, just make it about the original characters, they then had to bring in teenagers into it, and they had to make it like a modern teenage, like soap drama, like drama/romance horror movie type thing, and it was just terrible, because it's just like, just look, I want more adult characters. I don't want these teenage kids, because teenage kids in movies are annoying. Like, I'm sorry, they're just annoying. That's why the slasher genre, and that's why the original slashers in the 80s understood this. They were like, okay, fine, we'll make these kids generic, but it's fine because the audience is going to be able to see them all get brutally murdered. Exactly. So it's fine. Mm-hmm. We can sort of work past it. So yeah, there is kind of that worry that they're just they're gonna 2021 it and make it woke, and they're gonna bring in some more generic elements into it. So yeah,
safe. That's so concerning, because I like the whole idea of one character looking out for him, like going after Candyman to find out the truth.
And there's not a lot of, and there's only one kid. Okay, aside from there's 3 kids. There's the baby, there's the kid that died, and there's Jake. But there's not a lot of kids in that movie. It's mostly an adult focused. It mostly focuses on more older adult characters.
That's what I'm concerned, because now I'm thinking this new Candyman is gonna be like a Ouija. Ouija.
I haven't seen a Ouija, but I bet it's not good.
They do some voodoo, just like how they call Candyman in the mirror. And they all get wiped out, and the credits.
Because there's a similar folk tale about Bloody Mary, and Bloody Mary is a similar thing. Where if you say Bloody Mary's name 3 times in the mirror, she appears.
I think a more modern take might be Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. That's what I'm fearing Candyman will be.
Oh yeah.
So I am.
Cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic. I wanted to say realistically hopeful, but cautiously optimistic is a lot more professional sounding. So that's what I am. I'm cautiously optimistic about new Candyman.
All right, yeah. So hopefully it will end up being good. And then if it ends up being good, we'll do an episode. We'll do an episode like further down the line.
Yeah.
Maybe if this movie does well and they do like a Candyman 2 or whatever, then we can do the 2021 Candyman.
Of course.
But yeah. But yeah, otherwise, yeah. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening, guys. I just thought this would be an interesting, kind of little different type of movie.
Actually, I'm grateful we did this. I enjoyed something
different.
Yeah. And sticking with the whole like what's coming out to have a previous movie be addressed by us is quite cool.
Yeah, because obviously we can't go see the brand new movie just yet, so it's fun to like cover the original or whatever that they're referencing,
which is cool.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. And then if you are listening to us on our podcast platform and you have any feedback for us, please write us a review. Give us any feedback, any improvements that you think we could make to the show. We really do appreciate, because we are trying to every day to improve the show as much as we can.
Okay, let's just add, we do these episodes in batches, which is why we wear the same clothes in a lot of episodes, because we do a lot of episodes in a day.
The audio listeners won't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The YouTube videos
exactly
know what we're doing.
And so if you have any suggestions or improvements and we don't get to them immediately, it's because they'll only appear in the next batch of episodes.
Yeah, so we've got like 6 or 8 episodes that we're filming now, then we're gonna get to the next batch later.
Yeah, exactly. So if you don't see your suggested improvement just yet, then know it is possible it's coming in the next batch.
Yeah.
So just a bit of an FYI for you guys there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. But yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.